You can't knock it, and it's a great idea. Well done, Australia. UK, you're slacking. What is going on, and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Today's video is going to be us sitting down and running through 10 things that Aussies would not notice about Australia, but Brits can't miss. It's a bit of fun, it's something a little bit different. These are 10 points that we've noticed whilst living in Australia for the past 10 months. A lot of 10s going on right now. But yeah, 10 things that we've noticed living in Australia as Brits that have really stood out as something quite unique and different. It's a bit of fun, nothing too serious, but let's get in with the first point on the video.
Point number one is the Vietnamese bakeries. Now, what's different about these bakeries is we don't have them in the UK. Vietnamese bakeries don't exist.
No.
So it is something that we do notice. But what I find even more funny and amazing is you get the Vietnamese side and it's still got like a casual bakery where you can get vanilla slices, sausage rolls.
Yeah.
In one. So you can get your banh mi and you can get a vanilla slice for dessert. That is just the perfect combination for us, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. Like you said, you get a lot of just non-Vietnamese inspired bakeries as well, but across Australia. But in the UK, that would never be a thing. You would get the normal bakeries, vanilla slices, egg custards, that kind of stuff. Maybe a bit of a sandwich if you wanted it, pasties, sausage rolls, pies, all that kind of stuff. But then if you went in and asked them for a banh mi,
they wouldn't know.
I think the head would turn upside down in Britain or in the UK. Nobody would understand what that is. So yeah, it's something that's quite unique, and we have absolutely loved being out here. Being able to just go and grab a banh mi sandwich when you're out has become one of our favourite lunchtime snacks.
I don't know what your favourite banh mi is, because I know like the pork one's pretty popular, the beef one, the chicken one, tofu. There's such a diversity. But yeah, let us know which is your favourite. And if you are local, let us know where your favourite one is, because we've got a spot that we like, but we'd love to try more because we do grab them for lunch like multiple times a week, don't we?
I feel like Brisbane's got some good selections, I think.
Yeah,
Brisbane must have a few. Point number 2 in the video is going to be a shop that I think a lot of Aussies would drive past and not think anything of it. That is bottle-os. Bottle-os as a concept is, when we first came over, blew our mind. The idea of a shop specifically just for booze, and there being multiple kind of shops for it.
Would they call it booze?
I don't know. I think, as I said it, I think that's quite a Northern English thing to say. Let us know. Do you say booze as well? Obviously, the language still hasn't rubbed off on me well enough yet, but alcoholic beverages. Yeah, in the UK, you do get shops like bargain booze and shops that are more similar to a corner shop where you might go and get some cigarettes. You might grab a bit of bread, bit of milk, and then they mainly sell alcohol.
Even that's a weird one, because here you can't go to a corner shop and get cigarettes, bread, alcohol.
It does throw you. But that's what I mean. That's the closest kind of idea of a shop. But the idea of going to an Uncle Dan's or a Dr. Dan's, people have different names for it, but Dan Murphy's, and it just being solely alcohol, it really does kind of throw your head out of whack a little bit. We're used to just going into a big Sainsbury's or, you know, kind of Asda, Tesco, these kind of Coles, Woolly shops, and at the end of the shop there being an aisle or 2 aisles for alcohol, and that's the kind of given. So I think if you never told family or people coming over, like they might just go into the shop and be like, do they not sell alcohol in these shops? So for us, it is a big switch up. It's nothing major, and it is just walking out, usually across the car park, and going into an Uncle Dan's or is it a BWS, those kind of shops. They are around, but if you didn't know, you might be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know Australia was a dry country.
And also, they've got the drive-through ones, which are really interesting.
Drive-through ones.
Drive-through.
We've never been to one of them, have we?
Never. We'd have to go to one, I think.
What do you do? Do you stay in your car?
Yeah. Do you get out? Do they give it you? Do you go, what?
I've never even seen people really using them. So speaking about England as a specific country, rather than lumping in the whole of the UK, so Wales, Scotland, places like that, Northern Ireland, specifically just in England, they have consistent drinking laws where you can kind of go out, drink in public, obviously not to an excessive amount where you're getting belligerent, attacking people, but drinking on the street is something that you would kind of, I wouldn't say it's not frowned upon. Like if you saw somebody, you'd be like, oh, maybe early in the morning or before midday, like they're drinking. But past that, if you saw somebody drinking in the street, maybe of an evening, summertime, you wouldn't really think too much about it. But in Australia, depending on the state and territory, the drinking laws do vary and do change up. So that is kind of something that if you are travelling or touring, maybe in certain spots and certain areas, you can have a drink publicly, but then in other places, you might get cautioned by the police. So that would throw your head out of whack. You're still in the same country, but different areas, different places have different laws on drinking. Whereas in the UK, kind of just the same across the board. And the last point on the drinking, it's kind of all within the bottle or section. The fact of being able to go to games and drink. So if you were going to a soccer game, rugby league game, AFL game, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can drink at all these sporting events in Australia. Whereas in the UK, you can at rugby league games, but if you go into a soccer game or an English football game, you can't drink in the stands at those games. So if you're in the stand, if you can see the pitch and you're drinking, you'll get asked to leave. So you can actually drink within the stadium, like down from the stands, if you can't see the pitch. But if you can see the pitch, you're at your seat drinking. No.
It's a weird rule.
It is very odd. What's funny is people go at games at half time, they'll run down, try and grab a drink. You can imagine how busy it is because everybody runs down to go and get a beer. But then as the game's starting, you always see somebody like trying to neck the drink, like throw it in the bin and then run back to the seat. But you're still that same level of drunk.
Yeah.
It's very confusing. I don't know why it's the case, but that is another thing within the drinking culture of Australia and the UK where it differs. I think they introduced it to stop hooliganism. Maybe back in the day.
Point number 3 is about the raffles and the charity sign-ups. They tend to be very different to how the UK do it. Main reason being, we went to have a game at the Bowls one day, and there was a lady that came round in the boiling hot sun with a meat tray.
It's so weird.
And I was wondering what was going on, and I've noticed these meat tray raffles are a big thing. And she was like, "Oh, do you want a raffle ticket for the meat tray?" And I'm like, "Should the meat tray not be in the fridge? Why are we showing it off?"
I think it's okay for a small amount of time to probably go out, but the idea of somebody wandering around with a tray of meat as like something to win, that is a weird concept. Like a big tray of meat, and like, would you like this tray of meat?
I must say though, it's more of an incentive when you're outside the shop. With there being like a raffle connected to like the charity or the veterans assistance and help, I think that would incentivise people to want to be involved, where the UK doesn't really have that as much.
No. Even in the UK, what you would tend to see more than people asking you to sign up to things outside of a shop, they would maybe be stood there with a bucket and like they have a bucket in a high vis on, and they would be like, money for such a charity, and then people would just chuck money in going past. People call like your spare change shrapnel, so they'd be like, oh, I might just chuck a bit of shrapnel, a bit of change into them. The idea of them being with a table and asking you to sign up maybe to a monthly subscription or the chance of winning a house or having it as like a lottery draw, that really did throw me when I first came over, and I had to walk over to the table and be like, what's going on and what's it all about? So yeah, the actual sign-ups and charity thing is a little bit unique when you're going into a shop and you're like, oh, what's this? Quite interesting. Have a look. The next point is similar to the drinking point. It's about the pub culture. Pub culture is very different out here in Australia in comparison to the UK. We hear a lot of Aussies that we've spoke to go, oh, we love the old traditional English pubs. It's got that kind of rustic, kind of old-timey feel, like all the different generations of people that have been in. They're kind of usually cosy, small, cubby kind of pubs. Whereas over here, they're really quite modern. You're looking at your RSLs and your surf clubs. Those are kind of the best comparison of a place to go drinking in the local area. And a lot of these pubs in the UK are dated. They've been there for generations. They've only got so much size. Whereas some of these RSL clubs are getting all the work done. They get modernised, big screens for the television, for sports games. And they blew my mind when I first walked into one, and you can get food, you can get drink, you can go to the pokies, you can put on your gambling. There's a place for the kids to go and play.
The horse racing.
The horse race. Like, everything's in one, and it just seemed a bit crazy when we first went to one. It was like, wow. And you can sign up to like memberships in those places as well and have a membership to the RSLs and surf clubs. Now, those kind of places aren't really in the UK. I think places down south, like Cornwall, maybe Devon, your southern coast kind of surfing areas across the UK might have these kind of pubs, but where we're from and the majority of the UK wouldn't really have RSLs or surf clubs. And really different if you can kind of get used to it, if you're not too attached to a cubby kind of cosy pub, but just a place to drink, socialise, engage. Personally, I kind of enjoy the surf clubs more than I did pubs.
Yeah, I would say
Personally.
so. I would say so. I think also with the weather can be just as crazy in the UK as it is in Australia in terms of when it rains here, it rains.
Yeah.
When it rains in the UK, it rains pretty heavy. Not as heavy as Australia. When the sun's too hot, if you just want to be inside, you can do a lot in these places. So it's quite good to have everything all in one. I think the UK could definitely take some inspiration, I reckon. But
yeah.
Yeah. The next point that we really noticed, but you guys might not, and this might not be in every community in Australia, but it's definitely here on the Sunshine Coast, and that's the community boards for tradies and people that are offering the services.
Yeah, in small towns specifically.
Small towns. Us in the UK don't really have anything like that. Even in the small towns, it doesn't really have that much of a community feel. We might have like a Facebook page and people would share their business details in there, but to have a board that's literally overflowing, always busy.
It's good. It feels bustling. You feel like the community and the vibe of a place, of a town, is all on these boards. We went past them at first and we were like, wow, like inundated. Sometimes they have big walls where you can pull like little tabs off for dog walkers or maybe yoga instructors or Pilates, whatever it might be. You've got these big boards that are absolutely filled to the brim with fresh kind of posters of people wanting to promote the business. And it does feel a bit more hands-on. It feels a bit more tactile, a bit more real, rather than just a Facebook page where, oh, somebody's parked here and this is a problem, and like people kind of hiding behind social media at times. You've got that real kind of community feel where you can go, oh, I'm after a dog walker, rip that tab off, put it in my pocket, I'll call them. So that is a real nice touch that I think in Australia just
you probably wouldn't notice.
You wouldn't notice it, but in the UK we do have community boards, but sometimes they're not as accessible. It might be certain council put stuff up, but it's not as community board. I'm going to go and put it up myself.
They're not as widely used.
Yeah, definitely true. The next point is just one that happened numerous times, and I thought it might just be a one-off in a restaurant, but it seems to be a consistent thing. When you go to a restaurant and you ask to take away, maybe you've got too big of a portion or you've not finished some of the food, you say, please can I take some of this food away in a container? In the UK, usually the server or the waiter or waitress would come, collect the plate, take it away, bag it up, and then bring it back to the table. Whereas in Australia, that is not really the case. Sometimes they'll come out and they'll bring the container to you. More often than not, we've had that experience. And it was a bit of an awkward one because I asked, oh, could I take it away? Could you please take the food away? And then I put the fork and knife and sat back and then like expected them to take it. And it seemed like really kind of rude. But in British culture, that would usually be the case. They would come collect the plates, do it for you and bring it back to the table. And
also, what would you call it? When they bring the food back to take home, what would you call that?
I would call it a doggy bag.
Doggy bag.
I would call it a doggy bag. Let us know. Do you have another name for it? But I don't know whether that's just a family thing. My mum always used to call it a doggy bag. But yeah, can I get a doggy bag just to go? So yeah, it's just an interesting one. They bring it to the table and then you scrape it yourself, bag it away. At the end of the day, the guys are busy. They probably don't want to be doing that. So it makes a lot more sense. But as Brits, you're just used to it being taken, done and brought back. So maybe that's a bit of a difference. Let us know if that's the same for you guys.
In addition to that, though, what's different with the supermarkets is when you go to a supermarket in the UK, you will never get your shopping packed for you. And I'm guessing if you ask, they might be like, if I have to. But in Australia, when I first got here, especially, it was very strange to see them pack your shopping without you asking. So they just pack it for you majority of the time. And you have to ask them to not pack it if you want to do it yourself. But it's really handy because I'm not great at packing. I just throw it all in the bag.
Eggs in the bottom, bread in the bottom, then
I have
tins.
to just tip it when I get home. Otherwise, it's just, so it's great when they pack it because it's a lot more organised.
Yeah. So that is definitely something that used to be in the UK and has ebbed out. So similar to a lot of things like payphones beside the road. This isn't a point, but this is just another thing. We used to have payphones where you could go and kind of call. Australia still has a lot of those around for free, whereas the UK just, when people stopped using them for paying, they just completely took them away. So it's things like that where Australia kind of developed and made it work for the community. The UK kind of just took these things away, and that's similar with packing bags. A lot of the time you'll have to pack it yourself as quick as you can, whereas in Australia, packing it for you. Very
Aldi's
nice.
known for throwing it at you. They're like,
yes, they are.
You're like,
and there's never a big bit at the end of Aldi in the UK. It's always a small bit.
The next point is, and this is a funny one, and it's in more of the rural places. I don't think you guys in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane would have really noticed it too much.
Maybe though.
But maybe you did. But when we went on our road trip, in the rural areas, what we loved is that the houses utilised their letterbox into something just really bizarre and unique.
Yeah.
So they were taking like old microwaves, or what else did they have?
Gas canisters, fridges, washing machines.
And they were using them as at the top of the land where you just, put your parcel in, and that was amazing. And it wasn't just one or two, it was like a whole area. It was like a competition.
Yeah.
You were driving through like, oh, that's definitely a winner on this street.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people in the comment section said that that is something that is done around Australia as a way to upcycle or recycle rather than wasting. And if you have a big parcel delivery, it's not going to fit in a small letterbox. You have a washing machine, it's going in the washing machine.
And also, if you live rural, maybe you don't live nearby like a rubbish, like a landfill area.
Maybe,
so that'd be ideal because you're just reusing, recycling, repurposing. It's a great idea.
Yeah, something that we did notice in more of the rural spots, but I've never seen it in the UK. Maybe it's done, but it's very cool. And the penultimate point of the video is going to be going to a servo or a petrol station and having the little squidgy or a watering can where you can just wipe down your window.
So handy.
You might have little bugs that have squished onto your kind of windscreen. Obviously, the roads are a lot longer. There's a lot more vastness out there in Australia. So the chance of you needing it because you're driving through a lot more nature at times, there's a lot more bugs in the air, it makes sense. But it's very nice to have. I have seen it in the UK in certain petrol stations and servos, but it's not as common as it is. Pretty much every single servo here has the squidgy where you can just wipe down your window, give it a wipe, and as clean as a whistle, and then you're away. It's a nice touch.
Yeah, you seem to just have to pay for everything in the UK, to be honest. So yeah, definitely better in Australia for that point.
Yeah, if it's not behind a paywall, they don't want to give it you. Yeah. Seems to be the way.
So this is our final point, and this is one that we definitely noticed when we was on our road trip, and it's the driver reviver. This was such an amazing concept, and you know when you're on those roads and you're on them for a long time, your eyes are going, no matter what time of day you've been driving, working, whatever, you're tired, and they do have these driver revivers at multiple different spots. They're like, you get free tea, coffee, hot drinks, in like little huts in parks, I think they are. Or
a resting area, isn't it?
Yeah, like a resting area, but at certain times, they're not available like 24 hours, but at certain times, I don't know when those times are, you can get this service, which is fantastic.
Amazing.
It's great for people that haven't got the money to spend, but also might risk a crash. Or
imagine all the lives that have been saved through just simply it's an incentive for somebody who's like, oh, I'll just carry on for another hour, I'll carry on for 2 hours, but their eyes are going, rather than just going, no, you know what, it's an incentive, I'll go and grab a quick driver reviver coffee and I'll be good to go. And just that incentive to make somebody stop, stretch, freshen up, coffee, and then go. It's a way to save lives, so you can't knock it, and it's a great idea. Well done, Australia. UK, you're slacking. So with those points, let us know. A lot of our audience have actually lived or gone to the UK for a long time, maybe around Europe. Are there any points in Australia that you are like, as a country, we do this fantastically? Let us know. We might do another video on these, maybe something along the lines of points Australians love about Australia, something like that. Let us know. We'll feature you as a comment in that video if we ever do it. I want to know what you guys have to say. But those are our points for today. I hope you have enjoyed. I want to say a quick thank you to the members on the channel. That is today's video all wrapped up. Thank you very much. If you are new around here, be sure to subscribe. It really does help the channel, and we shall see you in the next one. Adios.
Bye.